Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness. Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast.
Nobody does that with customer journey, but every single step of a customer journey is an emotional based experience. So if you map them logically, you lose. If you map them emotionally, you win.
You are nailing it big time, because that'll go through every single business in the world. I don't care if you're a plumber, you're a CPA, a lawyer, business guy, I don't, across the board, it's experience. And what you build is human operating systems, not operating systems for businesses.
I want to invite you into the Business Network, my free school community for entrepreneurs and business owners who want to grow their network and scale their business. Inside, you'll get step-by-step lessons, monthly workshops, feedback, scripts, resources, bonuses, and a community of like-minded people who believe in helping each other win. Join us today at school.com, the Business Network, and click Join Group. I'll see you inside.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am pumped today, because that's why I love podcasting. I develop a friendship, an inner circle, and this guest is in my inner circle. He's done stuff, if you look back at part one, the stuff he's done, we won't get into it, that he successfully helped people, helped himself, helped his family, and you'd be able to connect with somebody. And, you know, today before the show, we're trying to help each other. It wasn't transactional, it was spiritual. And I know he'll agree with that. You can tell I'm so excited, my energy's off the charts. Before we bring him on though, here's our gratitude for today. You are amazing because you always do the best you can, no matter what. Again, this is great for my guest to hear. You're amazing because you always do the best you can, no matter what. Just do your best. What comes of it, the outcome, me and my guest eyes, it's God or the universe or spiritual. That's the control. But just be your best. And speaking of the best, the best guys I know, let's bring George on. George, welcome to the show.
Brother, I'm so honored to be back, man. I'm so honored to be back. I love talking to you. Recorded, unrecorded, you name it. You're just a bright light, my friend.
Like you said, we could have been talking for 2 hours. We won't go that long today, audience, but let's jump into the human connection, AI, and your thoughts on that.
Oh, brother, I love what you asked me. I'm going to frame this a little bit because I've been in the game of relationships and scaling businesses, building businesses with relationships. And just to even give context, for everybody listening, I think it's really, really important. Human beings don't make buying decisions or purchasing decisions with logic. They make them with emotions, and then they back them up with logic. And I know if we go back 2 years, 3 years, AI has been around a lot longer than a lot of people understand, but there's been this constant fear of like, it's going to replace me. It's going to do X. It's going to do Y. Ironically, it's becoming the greatest gift ever, because what it's really doing is increasing the demand for connection and authenticity when it comes to people. It's almost like a permission slip to be messy again. Like, none of us want to walk in. And I did this at the airport the other day. At the airports, you can do the walk in, it scans your credit card, you buy what you want, and then it automatically charges you on the way out. I walked right by and I went to the store so I could talk to the person, say good morning, right? We all complain when we go to the restaurant, and now we have to actually order on an iPad, and then they bring the food to the table, but there's no interaction, right? We have core desires as a human being. And when we understand that, I think the fears that a lot of people are having currently or have had just becomes a stagnation point where you miss the opportunity. Because you and I have been on the internet long enough. We go back, let's say 10 years when everybody was like, here's how to build a funnel, all these complicated steps, all these things, right? And then that's kind of persisted. And here's the consistent email sequences, and here's how to run a complicated webinar, right? It was all these things, right? And we traveled with what I'd call the old guard. And now, ironically, what's happening is that people want simpler because they want connection, right? They don't want to get 7 or 8 emails in a row if they're having pain. They have access to logical information that they didn't have before, but it's really increasing the demand for human touch points. And the way that I would relate it, it's almost like how we had to do business before the internet was existed, right? And I'm talking like when we're faxing, when we're actually having to pick up the phone. I've looked at my behavior over the last 6 months. I'll tell you right now, Steve, a year ago, I wouldn't even pick up the phone if you called me. If you didn't text me first, I wasn't picking it up. Like no phone calls, no nothing. Now you look at my phone and I am on either a WhatsApp call, a phone call, or a FaceTime call multiple times a day. And it feels like business is the way it was before the internet, because I think what's happened is it's so transactional and it's so overwhelming that you're just like, can I cut through the noise and can we just talk about this? Can you just text me? Can you call me? And so I think it's this big line of demarcation where it's like, I can try to continue to do this the old way with all these new tools that people are telling us with their behaviors and their actions they don't want. And I'm not saying there aren't people that don't want an AI tool or don't respond to emails, but when you understand the nature of humanity, what we want is we want resolution quickly. Resolution comes with connection, and connection comes with communication. And I don't want to call Apple and be like, you double charged me for something and I have to talk to an AI to get a solution. I don't want to call Delta when my flight gets delayed and be like, the AI is going to rebook it, which happened a week ago. And it rebooked me on the wrong flight like 9 hours later. So I kept hitting 0 and 0 and 0. I got a human, they fixed it in about 10 minutes, right? And so when we think about this, we have to understand is that the only way we get replaced is if we allow it to replace us, because we give away our humanity. We let go of our empathy. We let go of the one unique thing that we have, which is us, our perspective. And I think one other note that I'll make that I think is important for everybody. I read about this stuff all the time. I have AI engineers as clients. I got big companies. You see this, like everyone's getting laid off. They're doing X and they're like, they're going to be in a world of pain in about a year because they're laying off the people that are the human bridge between the data and the tool. And there's a reason that happens. And that's because empathy, context can't fully be picked up. And so what they're realizing, it's not about replacing somebody, it's about supporting them and increasing output. Not trying to replace them with an agentic agent, not trying to get them out and have robots run everything. It's keeping a human in the driver's seat and then increasing drastically what they can produce because they're the buffer between the data and the tool and how to run it. And so I think it's a big opportunity for all of us. And I'm seeing it across the board, right? Where we have people who are running webinars to sales funnels and to applications. And now they're like, I'm just DMing somebody a personal message and asking if they want to get on a call. I'm like, what's happening? They're like, they're signing. They're signing faster than they signed 6 months ago. And I'm like, perfect. Yeah. And so I just think it's a big opportunity. It reminds me a lot of like 2008, 2009. It reminds me a lot of when the algorithm was introduced, right? Yeah. And everyone's like, Facebook is broken, email marketing's dead. And I'm like, I don't think it's the tool. I think it's how we use the tools. And in a world where there will be a massive subset of people that are fully transactional, just give me what I want, let a robot run it. I would bet you percentage-wise that that's not the majority. I'm doing a project right now for a billionaire in town, right? He is interfacing with every contractor on his property, not his assistant, not anything. This guy, he doesn't need to know how much it costs. He doesn't care. Like it is a penny to him in association. He's the one calling. He's the one getting on the phone. And I think there's a massive rise in demand in that. But what we also have to be willing to do is to be wrong about how we did things and adjust how we did things because they're not working anymore. And so that's kind of like a kickoff point.
With the adjustment, so many points you made. The adjustment, I think, is the challenge right now for people because it's moving so fast. And that's this story with this billionaires is absolutely perfect. You said two scenarios which were important to me. Walking into a restaurant, get in the kiosk, ordering your food, and you come pick it up. Well, let's hybrid it. Let's walk in because restaurants need to churn through people to make their money, and we understand that. But to keep the human connection, you make sure somebody goes and has, hey George, here's your meal. Let me know if you have any questions. Have that 30-second conversation as they get their meal. But see, George, you get me thinking. You make me so smart. But the second part of that is walking through the restaurant. Hey, how's your meal? Still using AI as your tool, but the human connection is still there. And the other part, audience, take a note of this. You video chatted, you WhatsApp called, and you've used your phone for a call. 3 different human connection AI tools to connect with people, and you're becoming more successful, aren't you?
Dude, it's so powerful. And a really easy way to think about it, right, is I use AI. I love AI. It helps me produce things so much faster and so much more thorough and more collected that I would have missed. But here's the way that I tell it to everybody is AI has to be the meat in the middle of the sandwich. Human and human has to be the bread, right? So like I'm totally fine if I interact with a human and you're like, hey, I'm going to help you with this, but run through this tool real quick because it's going to give us an accurate snapshot. And then I'm going to help you implement it, right? I'm going to help you blank, right? Like, here's the funniest part. Like, I think about this with like therapy, right? Like, people are using AI for therapy, right? If AI
Yeah.
gives you coaching, if AI can tell you how to lose weight, tell me why you're still not doing it. It's no different how every workout and every meal plan has been on the internet for the last 15, 20 years that you don't have to pay for, but yet people still struggle with their health and fitness. So you're going to tell me now a logical tool is going to do it. You're like, no, AI is telling me that. No way. There's not that human connection. There's not the same stakes that are there. So the best way to think about it is you have to make a human sandwich around AI. That's where people are winning because you are increasing your ability to support. You are increasing your ability to follow through. You are increasing the results that you can create for somebody. And of course, I'm speaking in blankets. I'm going to own that. There are some industries, there are some businesses that can get away with it, right? Like accounting, watch out, right? Like you can give me an accurate snapshot of my numbers. They're a lot quicker, boom, boom, boom. But then no matter what, you can feed all the tax law into it. But that tax law isn't going to know the creative strategies that this guy's been using for years and years and years and years because it's got bumpers. So you got to understand this. And I think the other big thing that I want everybody to be aware of, I was talking to an AI engineer the other day, and I mean a massively successful couple $100 million in net worth engineer. And he's like, the other thing that people forget is the intelligence of AI is the summary of the internet. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, everybody thinks AI is the best, the smartest. He's like, it is the median of everything that it's fed. So for every good thing that it's fed, there's 25, 50 trash things that it's fed. So it's basically operating at like a 7th grader level. And he's like, yes, you can build a local one on your computer. You can control what it sees. Smart move. He's like, but when you're using these open tools, like it's the aggregate of all of this information. And so it's doing 2 things. Number one is people are getting overconfident in the results that it's creating, that it's somehow the gospel, that it's perfect, that this is the best way to do it. But then number 2, it's starting to make everybody sound the damn same. Everything's starting to look the same. And so just like 6 months ago, we're all like, we can't use M dashes anymore. So every English major is rolling over in their grave, right? Because now that they're grammatically correct, you still can't use them because somebody's going to say it's AI. But then here's the other thing. It's spitting out all the same things for people. Here's your webinar funnel. Here's your copy for this. Here's your image for this. And it's removing that one ingredient, which is that human connection. Like, what's the story that goes along with it? What's the feeling that you had? What's the perspective that shifted? Like, where's the messiness of being a human that actually builds trust, right? And it reminds me, Mel Robbins, love her or hate her, but she had a psychologist on her podcast that I happen to see a clip of. And they were talking about trust, but they were actually talking about trust in children. And they were using a child and a grandparent as an example. And they interviewed all these kids and they were basically asking them why they trusted their grandparents. And I think it's an incredible correlation when you think about business. And the answer wasn't, oh, because they got me this big present, or because they showed up to this one thing, or they were there at my graduation. All the answers were these micro moments. Like when I looked over at them, they weren't on their phone and they were paying attention to me, right? When I asked them a question, they responded immediately, right? They were consistent with how they showed up and when they showed up, right? But there's this like human to human thing that builds trust. And that's what's rising to the surface right now. Like, I don't want to sound like everybody else. That's the biggest discredit to the world ever. Same with you. I could never be
Yep.
Steve.
Nope.
Never. That's what I love about you is you're Steve. Like I present a personal problem. You're like, I'll fix it, George. And I'm like, man, he's so much better than me. I got to work on my update game. Like I got to work on my referral game, right? But there's this thing, and like, would it be cool to have access to Steve's brain as like a robot? Potentially, but you know what that's not going to do? That's not going to make me feel safe to share. That's not going to make me
No.
feel like I was validated in my feeling. That's not going to tell me that when I text you like, hey, Steve, I need you, and I get a robot response, I'm here and I know it's that. That doesn't make me want to open up, right? And so when we understand this game, it doesn't matter if your product's a $7 product, a $700 product, a $70,000 product. Trust and safety is at the core of it. And I found that the only way that that really, really works is if you allow yourself to be human, you focus on the relationship, and then you use AI or tools like that to help you solve things that prevented you from being in the relationship. I mean, I even use it. I even use it in my relationship. Don't think I don't. Important dates, timelines, reminders. But you know what I'm never going to do? I'm never going to let AI write a love letter to my partner. I
It's
am never
great.
going to let AI, right, like manage a card and send it out on my behalf, right?
Yep.
I'm like, no, no, there's this care and intentionality. And I think that that's the biggest thing for everybody. It's like use it, like embrace it. You have to, but you can't allow it to replace you. And that's the mistake I see people making is they're the ones that's believing it's going to replace them. So they're acting like it's already replaced them and they're
Yeah.
taking out the best parts of themselves. And if you ask it and pressure check it, I fed it my thesis on my philosophy in business, relationships beating algorithms, what matters. And I was like, will you ever replace me? And it literally responded, it's like, no, I can't. And it gave me hundreds of reasons why, and only the things that I can do that are the actual things that move the needle. And I'll give one last example because I'm ranting about this right now, but it's the
Okay.
easiest one to remember. And I want you to pick a business, but I always use restaurants. And I am a broken record with this. If you're listening to this or watching this, think of how many restaurants that you've been to that have had amazing food and subpar service. And now ask yourself, of those restaurants, how many did you recommend a friend go to? Now flip it. How many restaurants you've been to that have had average food but exceptional service? And how many times have you recommended that restaurant? Right? There's loyalty, there's brand trust because there's connection. You can't build that with AI. You can't replace that with AI unless you want to live in the movie Wall-E. I don't. And I don't think a good subset of the world does either. And so take the same principle into business, and that becomes your differentiator. You figure out how to be more effective. Like my favorite thing is now on coaching calls with my clients that I'm scaling. I feel like we're doing a year's worth of work in 2 months. You know
Jeez.
why? Because I don't have to be taking notes on my paper and like, did I remember this? Did I forget this? No, I got it recorded in like 3 places. And then I audit it and I run a behavioral analysis on it. I run a communication analysis on it. I ask it to find all the open loops. Then I tell it what priorities I need. And then I have a tracker like I've never had before in my life. And I'm like, boom, 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 boom. And we are like moving mountains in speed, but I still have to tell it what I'm looking for. And I still have to be the deliverer of the message. And I have to understand when somebody can receive it and they're not breaking their capacity and not burning them out because also AI doesn't sleep. So when it gives you advice, it tells you, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And like, in what 39 hours do you have today to get all of that done? And so, like, that's kind of my mini rant, but I think we all have to be aware of it because what's happening is it's increasing the drive for people to want connection more than we've ever had before. way worse than Instagram ever did, way worse than TikTok ever did, because now people are building these parasocial relationships with robots and then realizing they feel empty at the end of the day. And what are they screaming for? Connection. And so I think that it's an opportunity for everybody, but you got to be willing to look at it.
Information highway is what the internet, we're old enough to know that. You young people, that's what they call the internet. We're just a different information highway. It's very similar, but we're driving a different freeway. And I love your restaurant you did, I think, our last show. It really highlights anything. I mean, Costco, I think 10 years ago, their customer service sucked. I think it's better now.
It's incredible now.
Right. So you're seeing that too.
Incredible now.
Because now I'm saving money and experience. Because see, when we go into business, which is why I love you, is it's got to be an experience, emotion you started with. Not, I'm going to go to a restaurant to feed myself because I'm hungry. Yeah, that's the offshoot of it. You're making me sound really smart here. So I'm loving you, George.
It's because you are smart.
It's the experience. It's how did the waiter come to me? How did my wife enjoy? You and your partner, your son, you go out. How was that? Because that's all you talk about when you leave a restaurant. Oh my God, the food was this, but Joni came and got us water and she was a nice lady. We never talk about what the restaurant looked like, how many TVs, features, and benefits. That's not important to us.
Brother, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. This is for everyone. I've never talked about this publicly. You want to know how I build customer journeys? I build them based on emotional experiences, right? That I'm literally going to tell everybody right now. So when you think about it, you just nailed the most important part. When most people are building customer journeys, a webinar funnel, a sales funnel, an application funnel, a sales call process, they're building logical journeys built on data, not on experience. When it comes to human experience, there are certain things in business and in life that are always going to be a negative emotional experience, no matter which way you slice it. It's just a part of being a human. But nobody accounts for what's happening on the emotions, right? But if you think about it with a restaurant, we go sit down at a restaurant and they're like, hey, we'll be back in 1 minute to take your drink order. What happens when it's been 7 minutes? What happens when it's been 10 minutes, right? Most people build their funnel of like, take their drink order, take their food order, bring food to the table, but they forget about the humanity in between. That humanity is actually what dictates their ability to want to enjoy the experience, pursue the experience. But if you think about it in the lens of business, it's the thing that actually creates results and momentum for them. Because if they are resenting or resisting the thing that you're trying to help them with, guess what? They're not going to blame themselves. They're going to blame you. And so when we do customer journey, I'm like, I want you to walk me through every single thing that happens on their side. Take a restaurant, for an example. I call and make a reservation. My reservation's confirmed. I walk in the door. I talk to a hostess. The hostess walks me to my table. I offer water. The waiter comes over and says, hey, I'll get your drinks. Here's your menu. There's a gap between those drinks. Comes over and gets food. Ask if there's any food allergies. And I literally linearly list out every single moment that I have influence for. That's where most people stop because they're like, oh, all I got to do is I got to get the reservation. I got to put them at the table. I got to get their drink order. I got to deliver their food. And then I got to give them the check. There's 5 touch points right there. The actual experience, there's 50. Because think about this. What happens when you are at the table and you get up to use the restroom? It's an opportunity. Do you refold the napkin? Do you pull the chair out for them? Right? When you ask them if they have any food allergies, do you just accept that or do you go back to the kitchen and tell them? When every single touch point. And then I make them grade them. +5. So 1 through 5, right? Positive emotional experience. -1 through 5, negative emotional experience. And then 0, an overlooked opportunity to create an experience. And then we visually map it on a whiteboard of like, boom, boom, and we see what somebody's experiencing inside of it. So I'll take a tangible example. I don't care if you send me an invoice for $3, $3,000, or $30,000. You send me an invoice, it's a negative emotional experience for every single human being whatsoever. Might be a -1, might be a -2. I can't change that experience. But you know what I can do? I can surround that experience with something positive. So I'll give you a tangible example. We know in the world of sales, best practice is don't get off the sales call before you send the invoice, right? It's been taught for years because we and I get off a sales call and then all of a sudden there's 2 hour gap between you and I talking and you get hit with a $25,000 invoice. It is a drastically different experience. People still do it. But what if I'm on a call with you and I'm like, hey, Steve, I have this ready to go, but I want to show it to you. And I walk you through the invoice and what's in the email and why it's there. And I ask if you have any questions and how you feel about it. And I'm like, amazing. I'm going to send it right now. And by the way, I'm going to check in with you in 24 hours too, just to make sure you're comfortable. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not turning the -3 into a 0 or the -3 into a +3. I'm surrounding the -3 with 2 +4s because it's going to be there. Just like a physical trainer, a personal trainer. When he tells you to run a mile for time and you haven't run in 3 years, I don't care which way you slice it, that is a negative emotional experience. It is not going to feel good. But what dictates your relationship to it is how he briefed you and led you into it, which is Apple, which I've talked about on your show. And then how he treats you or talks to you after you're done with it, that turns that experience. I tell you to go run a mile, you get back and I'm not there. And I'm like, our time is up. I'll see you next week. That -3 stays a -3 and adds a -3 or 4. I change it. I acknowledge you. I document the time. I tell you how good you did. I tell you what we're going to be doing next. And I'm like, oh, and by the way, here's your water. I've had it waiting for you. Like, you should be proud of yourself. All of a sudden, that run becomes something positive. Nobody does that with customer journey, but every single step of a customer journey is an emotional based experience. So if you map them logically, you lose. If you map them emotionally, you win.
You are nailing it big time, because that'll go through every single business in the world. I don't care if you're a plumber, you're a CPA, a lawyer, business guy, I don't know, across the board, it's experience. And what you build is human operating systems, not operating systems for businesses. And, to call it HEO, human entrepreneurial, I don't know, it doesn't matter what EO, I forget, entrepreneurial, doesn't matter. But that's what I love. That's the core of what you do. What's their experience when they come to your business? Online or in person, doesn't matter. What are they walking through? We're coming to the end here.
And Steve, I know we're at time, but I want to give one more tangible because, I'm an Apple freak, right? Like, I love Apple. But you nailed Costco, right? You ever notice like you can't walk into Costco without being greeted by an employee within 3 seconds of being in the door? Yes, they're checking your card when you scan it on the machine, but I've yet to walk by one who doesn't say something to me when I walk in the door, right? Good luck getting to the sample. I try this all the time because my son and I go to Costco like 5 days a week. Okay. Like, it's my guilty dad pleasure. It's the best babysitter ever. He runs around for 4 hours. I sit at the food court and eat a cookie, right? Try to get a sample who, by the way, aren't even Costco employees. Try to get a sample without having a conversation with one of those people. They do it every single time. You're waiting in a long line. There's a Costco employee walking up to you with a pre-scanner to make it faster on the way out. You sit down at a table that's dirty. You go to get the thing. If one catches you, they'll come clean the table for you. Costco's a good example. Another one is Apple. You go into an Apple store. I want anybody listening to this to try this. I want you to attempt to walk into an Apple store and see how long you can make it before somebody in an Apple shirt comes to talk to you. Good luck. I've tried. You can't even get into the store to look at something before 2 or 3 of them. Anything I can help you with? Is there anywhere I can point you in a direction? Can I answer any question for you? No pressure, but they're guiding you through the process. They're controlling the entire experience. And when we think about our businesses online or even in person, we forget that those minor or those micro experiences happening between the big ones are the ones that make up the meat of how you feel. Sometimes I even feel guilty going into Apple and playing on the phone because I'm like, they're pouring into me so much. I'm not buying anything. I just want to play with a camera, right? I just want to see the laptop. So I'll be like, no, man, I just really want to play with it. They're like, oh my God, let us unlock it for you. What do you want to play with? Right? It's all this like positive emotional experience. That's what we all have the opportunity to do, but we have to be intentional about it, because if you don't intentionally design it, it unintentionally hurts you because it doesn't happen by default, right? You magically get home from work one day. There's not a robot in your brain that says, ask your wife how her day is. But I'll tell you what happens if you don't ask your wife how her day is. And you walk in, you're like, hey, honey, I can't believe you didn't do this. You're sleeping on the couch. But if you walk in intentionally, just take a minute. Just take a minute to like match eye contact, match her breath, and be like, hey, honey, like, how are you? All of a sudden, everything gets easier and smooth. The kids could be going crazy. Could have been a bad day at work. And then imagine she's like, oh my God, honey, thank you so much for asking. And then she'll be like, is there anything I can help you with? Or to your husbands, right? Ladies, when he walks in the door after a long day of work, do not meet him with the honey-do list. That is not the way to get him. But if you get him and you're like, you give him a hug and you love him, or you go meet him in the driveway, not only does it change his experience, but by the time you get in the house, he's like, hey, honey, is there anything you need me to do for you? And magically the whole honey-do list gets done. When we look at customer journey, we are building monogamous relationships at scale in a healthy way that makes both parties feel good without leaving any gaps for misinterpretations, doom scrolling or spiraling, or projections and unexpected expectations, but only if we map them.
What a way to end the show. I tell you, it's, and I say it's a tool. And I love you keep saying it's a tool. My dad was a contractor. We had hand saws in the 60s. Well, the new tool is a power saw. His whole business, he built houses faster. That's what AI is. It will allow you to build what you're building with a human touch still, sawing, and they're humans still doing that, but they have the ability to do it faster. Audience, if you reach out to me or George and tell us what you did when you walked in, how many seconds did it take Apple to reach out to you? Mention that to me or George, and I'm going to send you a gift. The other part of Servant's Heart. You take action, I'm going to reward you. We're not going to get into it. We're bringing him back for part 3 because I can't get enough of this guy.
Steve, for sure. And you just said something. It's 30 seconds. I think this is important for everybody to understand. We took Costco as a positive example. We took Apple as a positive example, right? Now take a car dealership. How many of us, when we're going to look at cars, don't like the feeling because we know we're going to get stalked and potentially pressured? So there is a very big point to be made that even when you design it, your intention underneath it is truly the difference. So to land the plane and close the loop, that is what makes you feel different, because if it's transactional or agendized, it's manipulative. If it's authentic, connected, and it's transformative, and you get to make that distinction.
Great way to end. Thank you again, George, for taking the time. As always, unbelievable. Share this link out. Share this podcast out. Share with others. Impact like we're trying to impact, me and George. You could do that with a podcast. That's why I love podcasting. So with that being said, me and George want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.